Well, hello everyone. We are back today in the dining room and no light for Toby to knock over, but he does have a bad case of the zoomies this morning and he is torturing the older cat, Whiskers. So Whiskers is on the table here with me, and if you see the camera start shaking, it's because he has caused a kitty earthquake, or Toby has jumped up on the table to attack. So today, I have a couple things. I have two new patterns. They were free patterns from Instagram. And also, I have finally figured out how I'm going to do my pricing. So I'm going to share that with you. Now, I don't have everything here. I haven't calculated every price yet, but I know how I am going to go about getting those prices for things that I have already made. So let's start with the two new patterns that I came across on Instagram. The first one is this little bunny. Now the pattern, it has like a lotus flower that the bunny sits in, but I didn't want the flower. I just wanted the little bunny. And I think he turned out awesomely cute with the Premier Parfait Chunky. So then I wanted to make another one out of the Bernat, one to see size difference, but also I'm having an issue with my Parfait. Like, this white is very thin, like they didn't put enough fluff on the string, and they're out of stock. They are out of stock. Like, I have my list of things that I need to make, you know, for my multiples, and now I have to rethink my list because I can't get a few of the colors that I need. It's unbelievable that they are always out of stock. So if you know of a yarn that is comparable to how Parfait Chunky feels and glides across your crochet hook, please let me know in the comments down below. The only two blanket yarns that I've tried so far are the Parfait Chunky, which I like because of the way it just glides across the hook. It's so much easier to work with. And the Bernat blanket. I haven't tried any other brands. I checked Hobby, however you pronounce it, and because I've been told I think it's called Honey Bunny, is similar to the Parfait Chunky. It costs a little more. Have to wait a little longer for shipping because it comes from overseas. But they are also out of stock. And because Premier is out of stock on their website for like 95% of the colors, so is Hirschner's and Mary Maxim. So I need a plan. I need a nice gray in Bernat. If you know of the color name of a nice gray in the Bernat, it's so hard to shop online when you're not familiar with the colors and stuff. So we got the bunny in the Parfait, and this one, his nose is sewn on, and I used a, like a chalk to do the pink in the ears and under his eyes on his nose. This one is Bernat Vanilla, and I used a safety nose, and you can barely see it, but a very pale pink for the blush, and tried to stitch a little bit in his ears. Now his ears I want to redo. I made the mistake of, when I did the ears, closing the ends on these, and on this one I didn't. And these just sewed on so much nicer and look cuter. So I need to redo the ears. Only take me like 5 minutes. It took me 2 minutes an ear to make. And that's having to, you know, look at the pattern and say, okay, what do I need to do next? So it won't take long to do that. The other free pattern I found was this Snoozing Goose. And it had two modifications with it. One for a flamingo, which I changed up the colors on this. I added the dark pink to the tips of the wings, and I put a little bit of white on the beak instead of doing it all black. So you had the flamingo, and then there was a mallard duck. You can't really complain when someone is giving you a free pattern, but I want to complain a little bit about this pattern. These took me about an hour to make. The hardest part is the darn neck. Now, it doesn't say whether to stuff it or not. And in the pattern, at some points it says, make sure that you're starting in the middle of the belly. Well, which side is the belly and which side is the back? So after I did this one first, and the little tail is pointing up. I did this one next, and the tail is pointing down. And then I did this one last, and the tail is pointing up. And then the head never quite ends up straight. They're always a little cockeyed. But I'm okay with that. Yeah, it wasn't the easiest of free patterns, but it's cute. And the mallard, you turn the little head and it sits on, like when it's, because they're supposed to be sleeping. The ducks sleep with their heads turned over, like tucked on their wing there. So his head being a little cockeyed doesn't really matter because of the way it would sit. So those are the two new patterns that I did. And I know I'm supposed to be doing my multiples and not messing with new stuff, but you gotta have new stuff to make it interesting. Otherwise you just get bored doing the same thing over and over again. So for my pricing strategy, everybody does this different and everybody has opinions about it. The area you're in plays a lot into it. From what I have listened to so many different people, and everybody's prices are different, but the same basic philosophy is there, kind of. So what I did is I started off, I did a little mini octo. And I know I've shown you guys these before, but I needed to do one to test out this pricing strategy. So I weighed my yarn before, and then I weighed my yarn after. I took a small amount of polyfill and weighed it before, and then after I stuffed it, I weighed it again. And depending on how much your safety eyes cost per package, you're going to, say if it comes in a pack of 200, technically you have 100 eyes because they tell you it's 200 pieces, but they're counting the backs as a piece. So you have 100. So say you paid $6 for that 100. You would divide it, so you'd hit 6 cents an eye, roughly. That's just a rough estimate. Then, because I did this one first, I set the timer. I didn't have my computer on. I didn't want any interruptions. How long is this going to take me to make? Well, of course, because you know the timer's going, you're going to make mistakes. It never fails because you feel like you're working under pressure. So when I got to the tentacles, my nemesis, I messed up. I had like 5 done and I realized, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be putting 2 single crochets per stitch, not 1. So I pulled those out and had to redo it. So it took me 18 minutes to make this, but I'm going to shave off 3 and call it 15 because of my mistake with the tentacles. So the calculations, I got my little notes here. The yarn, if you use Bernat and you go by their regular price, not a sale price, just what it would cost if you had to buy it without it being on sale or without a coupon, it cost 0.49 cents per gram. So call it a nickel. The Parfait Chunky is 0.43333. We're going to call it a nickel. So Of the 2 yarns that I've been using, it's 5 cents a gram. The polyfill, going by the price I paid on Amazon, comes out to 0.023 cents a gram. We're going to call it 3 cents just for easy math. And we're going to say that the safety eyes are approximately 6 cents a piece. So you need to decide how much you're going to pay yourself an hour. So say you want to do, like, Florida's minimum wage at the time of my market will be $12 an hour. So I calculated it at $12 an hour. And if you take that $12 and divide it by 60 minutes, that's 20 cents a minute. So at 15 minutes, that would be $3 in labor. And the actual materials cost is 83 cents. So this guy would be $3.83, but I'm going to sell him for $5. I just think he's worth $5. And $3.83 is such an odd amount, you know. So $5 for my little mini octos. Now, some people will say, okay, your materials and your labor, that is the actual cost of an item. What about your profit? Now, I have like 30 years of retail experience, and when you purchase your merchandise, that's a cost of goods. So my $3.83 for this is cost of goods. Now you need a profit. If you are fortunate enough to run an average of a 40% profit margin in retail, in the type of retail I was in, that was great. There might be some things you made 15% on, there might be some things you made 20, some are 30, but if the overall average of all your sales was a 40% margin, you were doing fantastic. Now, of course, I'm talking doing 100,000+ in sales in a month. So you take your cost of goods minus your total sales, and that gives you your gross profit. Now you pay for, out of the retail, okay, you would pay for your labor, your utilities, you know, all that kind of stuff. What we called write-offs, which would have been damages, just all those kind of things came out of the gross profit, and then you get your net profit. But we don't have all that expense. We have our labor and our materials. That is our cost of goods. My cost of goods is $3.83. I am going to sell this for $5. So $1.17 would be my profit on this item, if you wanted to look at it like, you know, doing those type of terms. I'm not trying to run a business. I'm just going to go have some fun and sell my plushies. And the money I get from my plushies is going to help me pay for more yarn so that I can make more plushies and go out there and sell them again so I can buy more yarn to make more plushies. So I definitely am not, at this point, trying to turn it into a business. Okay, so this guy, 15 minutes, 83 cents materials, $3 in labor. He's going to have a $5 retail price. The snoozing birds in materials, and this is using the Parfait Chunky, I have $3.50 between the yarn and the polyfill. Now, you wouldn't think there'd be that much of a difference between this and this, but there is. So $3.50, and it took approximately an hour. Now, I'm guesstimating because, you know, life. So $3.50 and $12 an hour is $15.50. But because I know in my mind that these didn't come out perfect, They're a little wonky. I'm rounding down to $15. So these 3 guys will be $15 each. The little bunnies. Now, I made this one before I decided to do the calculations. But I tracked it with this. So he has $3.31 worth of materials. It took me approximately 30 minutes. So 30 minutes times 20 cents is $6. And then $3.31 makes it $9.31. I'm going to round up and sell this size bunny for $10. This size, I don't think you could get $10 for it, in my opinion. This is more like a $7 or $8 price range, I think. But because this pattern tells you to wait to put the eyes in and glue them, and these were like really loose, and I went back and added more glue, I would be afraid to put this out there to sell. So this one I'll probably keep for myself. I'll fix his ears and, scoot him over a little bit, and he'll be a $10 item. Then this morning, I was like, let me test out one more. So I went back to the Instagram possum pattern, this little guy here, and he's small. Look at compared to the octopus. So he has, between the pink, the white, the gray, the black, and the safety eyes and the little bit of polyfill, his material cost is $1.32. Now, for as small as it is, you wouldn't think that this took me 30 minutes to make, but I haven't touched this pattern since I first started making the plushies. So it was like doing it all over brand new, but 30 minutes. So that's $6 at the 20 cents a minute. And then $1.32 in materials makes it $7.32. So this little possum is going to be a $7 price tag, which I think is fair. It's small, but it's cute and it's affordable. And the time, I know the time will get faster when I don't have to sit there and examine the pattern, like where am I, what am I doing, blah, blah, blah. So then I was like, well, that's fine for the things I'm making now. What about all these things that I already have made? And I don't know my material cost. I don't really remember like exactly how long it took me to make. So I broke out one of the large axolotls and I weighed them just like this. And I used only the yarn cost because the yarn is 2 cents more than the stuffing. And then, we're looking at like 12, 15 cents or so for the eyes. So I just weighed it and went by the 5 cents. So the materials cost on this axolotl would be $4.70 using just the 5 cents per gram. And approximately an hour to make it. I am not the fastest crocheter. I would rather have a neater, more, I can't say perfect because nobody's perfect and nothing is perfect, but just that neater. I would rather be careful and have it look right than rush through it and have it be sloppy, and you know what I'm saying. So I estimated an hour for this. So $4.70 plus the $12 would be $16.70, and I rounded up to a $17 price tag for the big one. Now the Parfait Chunky, of course, they come out smaller, so I will probably do 15 on the smaller ones. Then the last one that I already made And just to test out this theory of if I weigh it and use the 5 cents a gram, and now of course all this depends on if my scale is accurate or not. It's old, but that's what we're going by. The other one I did is the pelican with the little fish in his mouth. And this one, the materials cost by weighing it at 5 cents a gram is $7.30. And I'm guesstimating that he took me approximately 90 minutes to make. I didn't time myself. I wasn't rushing. I was just doing it leisurely as I went. So 90 minutes at 20 cents a minute is $18. And then the $7.30 for the materials, that is what? $25.30. So I rounded down. And this pelican, I'm going to sell for $25. He's not super huge, but he is like really, really cute. And I think really unique looking. And I think $25 is a fair price for him. So those are the only ones that I have done so far. Because I like testing it out, but I really think that's how I'm going to do it. So I have like, over 100 of them to weigh. Well, some of them, like I wouldn't have to weigh the small octopus, so automatically I know what they would be. The small possum, there's only one other one of them, but there will be more, so I know what those will be. Once you figure it out, then you don't have to do it anymore. Like if it's something that you make all the time, and I don't know that I'll weigh each one. I think I'll probably just make them and then weigh them at the 5 cents a gram to calculate my cost and do it like that. I think that is fair. Unless, of course, I use like felt eyes that are going to be over $1 for the pair of the eyes. So that I would add in the $1. Or, anything else that's like really unique about it. Now I would have to, like if it was something made out of acrylic yarn, I would have to, figure that out. Like how many grams, divide the price of the skein by how many grams the skein is, and then weigh the item after that and calculate it from there. But acrylic, it's small. You're using a small hook. At least for me, it takes me a lot longer with the acrylic than it does with the plushie yarn. But I think with the acrylic yarn, some of the things that I've seen come across my Instagram feed, you can make some really cool stuff with the acrylic or the cotton. But most of them, when you look at it, like it's a free pattern, you're like, oh, that's cool. I want to make one of those. And they're using a 1.5 millimeter hook and a thread. And it's like, nope, my hands can't do that. Cannot do that. But like I was saying, I watched countless numbers of people doing their, like, this is what sold at my market and this is how much I sold it for. And everybody is all over the place with their pricing. Area has a lot to do with it. Like if you live in a really rich area, they can handle a little more pricey things. If you live in a low income area, they can't handle those pricey things. So you gotta take your area into consideration too. But when these people, they sit there and they say, okay, so I did $1,000 in sales and my square fees were this and my booth cost was this. So my profit was, and I sit there and I'm like, that's not your profit. What about your material cost? At least the material cost. You're making the money, so that's your time. But at least the material cost. You can't just sit there. That's like so misleading and say, this is my profit. No, it is your sales. It is your net sales, I guess you could say, or your gross sales. we'll say it's net sales after fees. That doesn't take into consideration your cost of goods and your labor and anything else. So that's super misleading. And if they could hear me through the phone when I'm watching and telling them, no, that is not your profit. That is your sales. Let's word it properly so we don't miss people and mislead people and make them think that this is some really lucrative type business. I mean, it might be, I don't know. I haven't been to my market yet, but don't sit there and say, oh, my profit's $1,000. And you're going to make people sit there and think, I can make up 100 plushies and go make $1,000. Well, no, it's not like that. You have to take into consideration your cost of goods. How much were your materials? And if you were the type where you got like really big and your demand is way higher than you can supply and you needed to bring on someone to help you, you're going to have to pay that person to help you. So, and we all crochet at different speeds. So that would be hard. I mean, I think you would have to do like piecework for that. Like, how much would I pay you to make this possum for me? So it's not. That's not your profit. That's your sales. That's your sales. So that's just a tiny little rant that I have. It's just like, oh, don't say it like that. It is super misleading. To figure out your, just to recap, to figure out your cost of goods, which would be your materials, weigh your yarn and divide it by, when it's a full thing, a full skein, weigh your yarn and divide it by how many grams. That'll give you your cost per gram. Weigh your yarn before and after you use it. If I remember the numbers correctly, the 16-ounce bag of polyfill has like 453 grams. Don't quote me on it. So, but like I paid, we'll just say $5.50. So I took the $5.50 and divided it by the total grams, and it came out to the 0.023, but I'm rounding up just to make the math easier. And then of course your eyes, if you paid $6 and you got 100 pairs of eyes, then your eyes cost you 6 cents each. So it's 12 cents each time you put 2 eyes on the plushie. But the cost varies on the size, but if you buy the assorted packages and then you have to weed through them and figure out which back goes to which eye, then it gets a little iffy. So I'm not an expert. That's just my opinion. That's just how I'm going to do it. And the ones that I already have made, I'm only going to use the 5 cents a gram for the yarn, weigh the little plushie, figure out my material cost, look at it, be like, okay, this one took me an hour, so I know to put that $12 an hour in there. Now, at this stage in my life, do I deserve more than minimum wage? Hell yes, I do. But, like I said before, when I take this out of the house, I don't want it all coming back. I want people to be able to buy it, to be able to enjoy it, to do whatever it is that they do with their little plushies. Because I don't want to bring them all home with me. As cute as they are, I only have so much space in my house. All right, guys, that is my little price structure lesson / rant / new pattern share. And I will catch you over here in the next video.